And okay, I started recording the session, so please let me know how is your programming skills so far?
I would like to say that it's like what I said in the intro message, which is um, I my proficiency is like I can copy and paste
Mm-hmm,
and debug the error if there is some error to
mm-hmm.
fit the maybe the version issue, right? But if you ask me to write, like you give me task and I cannot do that. I mean, like if I rely on myself 100%, I don't.
Okay, so did you write any Python code before?
Yeah, I did try. I mean, I did go through few classes for the foundational and intermediate. I yeah, for Python, C Sharp, and C plus plus.
Uh-huh, okay. And would I know what you're aiming to at the end? Are you aiming to find a job in the field, or are you trying to connect the programming to your study? Because I understand, if I understand correctly, you're not from a programming background. You come from engineering or design background. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so you are trying to connect programming to your field, or you're trying to start a new career in the programming?
Um, Actually, both. At first, I want to like bridge some. I mean, like I want to utilize this programming into my field. But on the road, I feel like I want to divert from my field, something like that. So I do need to find a job in this programming, maybe like for software engineering or developer, which cover all the DevOps things,
Mhm.
and I need to work on projects, which my learning style is like project based.
Okay, so you would like mostly like most of the people is like that you would like to take an example and learn from it, not too much theory. I believe so. So
Not
okay,
too much.
yes, okay. So the point here that so you would like to develop web-based applications, or which field that, because what you write somehow is combination of many fields. So would you like to develop web-based application? That's why you write full stack, or what exactly?
Yeah, web based and put desktop based. Is
Uh,
it correct?
Desktop-based. Okay, okay. So
Both.
okay. Well, it is very rare to find people who doing both at the same time, because
Okay.
they require to have different kind of skill set. It doesn't mean that the people who write web-based, they cannot write desktop-based, but typically, even within the job requirement, uh, they have different requirements in general. So people who developing, and it's just let me explain also this. They have different set of requirements. Other than that, um, the language used in both of them are slightly different, and you have to understand that in software programming, the field is too big. The computer
Mm-hmm.
science field is too big, and it's too deep. And to be able to master one field, um, you need a lot of focus. You have to focus. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Else you will find yourself learning a lot of things, but landing a job will be a pain for you. Um, so okay, uh, first of all, Java is a good language, but
Okay.
um, normally it is very hard to find a Java job unless you really. Um, so people don't use Java in normal web programming anymore. They don't use it. So Java, I personally use it in in Android programming. So if I would like to make an Android software, I will use Java. But even with that, people Java is not enough. So because they created new languages like something called Kotlin, and they try to combine sometimes Java with Kotlin to be able to make uh, applications for the Android. Okay, and if we are talking about full stack, so we are talking about CSS, HTML, and JavaScript sometimes. This is it, some, but again, the stack is can be different from one person to another. And sometimes they use PHP or they use Python. And when I say like that, that you need to learn a framework. So if you learn PHP, the most required framework in the market at the moment, this might change. So it's Laravel, okay? And if you're talking about Python, so Laravel if you're using PHP, and if you're using Python, so it can be Flask or even Fast API or Django. Django is quite popular in developing web applications. Um, so that's why focusing is important. So if you and people who study computer science typically they learn Java in the start courses because it's basic. It doesn't have any advanced syntax, and um, and it's somehow easy to learn somehow. But the problem with Java, so if you're talking about productivity, as a person who want to write code, I would not go for Java or even PHP. I would stick to Python and advanced languages. Why? Because you're able to uh, write little amount of code and do a lot of things with this little amount of code. So I'm able to, if you heard about arrays, I'm able to write one line of code in Python that is able to fill in a 2D array um, just only with one line of code. And if I want to do the same in other language like Java or PHP, it's not even possible. I have to write at least maybe 3 or 4 lines of code to be able to do that. Um, so just to give you some examples, I'm not sure if you ever see 2D arrays in Python before, but just let me share before we write any codes. Let me see here. Where is that? Search. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this is an example of how a 2D array looks like. So this example is basically written in Python just to show the capability of the Python language and how strong is it and how you can write efficient code and do a lot of things in just one line. So what this 2D arrays is consistent of rows and columns. We stored the scores um, of a class of a student in a class in each cell of the 2D array. So each cell here represent a score for a student in the class. And we assume that we have 3 classes because we have 3 rows. So here in class is row number 1. So we say for class number 1, student number 1, we have a 0 score. And the same goes here. Student number 2 in class number 1, we have also a 0 score. Student number 3 in class number 1, we have a 0 score, and so on. So we go to class number 2. It's a different class. We have a different set of students. Class number 1 in student number 1 in class number 2, we have also 0. And then student number 2 in class number 2, he have a score of 1, and the same goes here. And then here we're talking about um, a different set of scores for class number 3. It's a different set of students, and each have a different set of scores. Let me see here. So we have here a score for a student number 1 who is sitting in class number 3. He have 0, and here we have 2 for student number 2 in class number 3. So what I'm trying to say that how many students we have? We have almost 4 students in every class. And how many classes we have? We have 3 classes. Does this make sense to you so far?
Yes, but I just don't know where to implement this to the array.
Okay,
Oh,
so yeah, and this is a code. So the point here is not to really explain fast the 2D array, but 2D array in general, we use it to store values that we want to do fast operation on that values. So we are able to use it to store the scores or the values for students. That's one thing. We can use it to store scores from games for players who are playing. So we are able to collect things that have relation to each other in a 2D array. So if we want to get a sum or average of these kind of values, it's very hard to do that if we store them in non arrays. So if we store them in a normal variables, so we will end up having, instead of having, as you can see here, um, how many students we have? We have 4 students, and we have 3 classes. And if we want to get the average or even the sum of all the scores for the students, that will be somehow, we have to write a lot of code to be able to do that if we have separate variables for each student. But if we have a 2D array, if we group values in arrays like that, we are able to do somehow fast operations to do the sum or even the average on the values inside the arrays. So if I tell you, oh, I want to know the average student scores, you're not able to do that in one line. So it will take you a few lines to be able to achieve that. And if we talk about having maybe 10 students in a class, that will take you more lines of code to be able to write that. So just a fast example without going into too much details, because this is an advanced example. So if I want to write a line of code that get me the sum of all the people who achieved, all the students who achieved score more than 4. So I make an if statement in a complicated line of code that can get me some, how many people, how many students who achieved a score more than 4. So if you look at here, it's only one or maybe 2 people who achieved a score more than 4. So I can do that operation just only in one line. So that is one of the beauties in using Python. Um, I would say if you don't understand that kind of line of code, that's typically fine. Why? Because that is an advanced topic in Python. Um, of course, we expect you as a person who work in a field that you don't reach that level very fast. But at the end, when you working in a project, and then you are able to achieve this kind of working code, or four lines or 5 lines of working code just in one line, that save you a lot of time in your job. Okay, and it's typically expected out of people who are working in the field. I would say that of course you need at least maybe 6 to to 7 months of studying to be able to really grab that kind of expressions, or even use it in a frequent basis. Maybe you understand it, but you find difficulty in writing it. I have gone through the same stage, um, but again, that's something good, and this is something that the language, Python language, give you capability of. Did I make so far sense in what I'm saying to you?
Yes, yes, I understand.
Okay. Um, so I would say, to be able to really understand what's your level, and to assess you and to be able to help you, well, I would like to take a small example, and uh, not an example, but it's like an exercise. I would like to go through the exercise with you, and from there I'm able to put my hand or where you stand exactly, and I'm able to think how I can help you to develop your skills further. Is that
Okay,
fine to
okay.
you?
Yes, yes. But I don't
Uh,
think I will. Uh, yeah, I'm not good, but I try.
don't say like that. Part of, I mean, so yes, I'm a developer by profession. I still write code, but I would say that um, your emotion and your beliefs is actually reflected in your actions. So I would say, this is far from career self-development. This is based on real studies for neuroscience. So I would say, always keep your emotions in a high stage, or keep it high always. This will help you to in the problem solving. This will help you push your problem solving skills up very high. Okay, so um, it's fine if we don't solve a problem from the first time. It's typical. I have seen people like that, and I have seen people who even studying computer science, or who face problems in using what they learn to be able to solve real problems. But I think by exercise, they start to develop this kind of skills. So don't worry, just let us look a little bit by little bit and see how we can develop that. Okay? So please have a look with me here. Um, I just want to try. So we have here three kind of exercises here: one, two, and three. So we are trying to. Did you hear about functions before?
Yes.
Okay. So here we're trying to say, write a function that takes in two numbers and return the sum of those two numbers. So that is kind of simple function, I would say. And so here in most of my classes, I use this kind of uh, online IDE for Python. I'm able to use it for Java. I'm able to use it for C Sharp or .NET languages, C++ even. Um, of course, I have to choose how I am creating my repo, and based on that, it will give me the language I'm able to use. So here, for example, I just to show you how the beauty of that free free IDE. So I'm able to say create a repo or rebel here. Then I'm able to choose the language I'm using. So you have a lot here. So you got HTML, you got C++, you got Python with different flavors, and you got PHP and so on. So you have a long list, and they keep improving it day by day. So you just mention here what kind of title or label name, and then you create it, and then you start writing code on the spot. So let me see here if I manage to write something here. Uh, I believe I wrote something, but maybe I need to create one in front of you to be able. Let me see here. So yeah. So this rebel I created. This rebel I created for your classes specifically. And for every class, after every class, typically I give you the code that we will write, or we or the exercises that we solve inside the class. And after the class, I give you homework exercise that you need to go through and solve. Um, Typically, I give hard homework exercises to be able to always assess your level and how I should change the classes to be able to fit your current level, or if you misunderstand something, I will be able to know it from your solutions that you provide to me. Of course, that can take some time, maybe from 1 or 2 hours to be able to solve that exercises, up to 5 or 6 hours, depending on your level. But of course, if you have other things to do, then I'm able to reduce that based on your preference. Okay. So now let us develop that function. We said that function that we wanted to create is to create a function that takes two numbers and return the sum. So this is somehow is like a function that add numbers. In this case, he write for us specifically that we should create take two inputs. He said it can be A and B or X and Y. Um, does this make sense to you so far, what I'm writing?
Yes.
So when I write add two numbers, and this guy is using some kind of AI to really predict what I'm trying to achieve. We should not always depend on that because we're trying to learn, right? So if you can you see this on the screen that he's trying to write to us, or maybe
Yes.
give us a suggestion that we should return x plus y, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so that is actually the result of creating a function that add two numbers. So does this make sense to you if I just press tab and then it write to me x plus y?
Yes.
Okay,
Makes sense.
okay. And do you know how to call that function?
Uh, Define the.
So we defined the function. We defined how the function should do its job. But do you know how to call it? How to pass? So to call a function, it means that I need to pass it. So I will call it here like that. This is a way of calling a function. I need to pass real numbers because when I defined it with x and y, I didn't provide any real numbers here. I just provide simples for it, and I need to be able to provide something to it so that it can do the real calculation for me. So this function is adding two numbers, and I really needed to make the job of adding numbers. So I need to provide 5 and 10 for it. Does this make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay, so I will run here, but I will be surprised that on the right hand side I don't see any output. Do you know why I don't see any output?
Um, Not return the value. Is it?
I'm well, I returned here the value, but it doesn't seem that when I call the function, um, so yes, I called the function, but I didn't assign it to any other variables, and I didn't even try to print something out. So to be able to see, as you know, I think you already take that there is a function called print, and that function you can give it a variable name, or even I can even put that function call inside it, and it should return to me the output. So if I add two numbers, it should return 15 here. If I change here, 50 plus 5, it should return 55. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. And you know that when we call a function, it's possible also to say z equal, and then I call the function, and then whatever returned will be assigned to the Z, and then I'm able to call the Z like that. Did you see something like that before?
Yes.
Okay, so this somehow makes sense so far, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so can we move to the next exercise and see how you go through that? Okay, so he asks us to write a function that takes in a number of people and a number of groups. And the number of the people will be split into groups evenly. There might be a leftover people. Return the number of people in each group. So it means that he get two inputs. Input number one is number of people. Input number two is a number of groups. He somehow wants us to divide the number of people on the number of groups evenly, like he said, but there might be leftovers. So this example actually, or this exercise can only be solved if we know how the reminders work, or how there is certain functions or certain arithmetic operators in Python that is able to return for me the numbers and ignore any fractions. Do you know that?
I don't remember.
Okay, so if we say define get or maybe distribute people on groups. So I will take the people here, and I will take the group here, and I try to define my function um, to do something for me. But of course, this guy is smart enough to predict based on my uh, I would say, okay, so based on the function name, he's trying to predict what I'm trying to do. So the AI detects that. So did you see this arithmetic operator before?
Yeah.
So do you know what it does, or what it does?
Divide.
Yes, it divides, but so this is a normal division. But if I put two signs like that, it means that it will do a division, but it will ignore um, all the fraction part. So if I divide 10 by 3, you will find that I don't get a whole number. I will get a number and an integer and a fraction. We call it a float in uh, um, do you know that we call it we call do you know a float, how float looks like in Python?
Yeah, it's like with decimal places.
Yes, it's something like that. So if I want to say, so that is a comment, so that is that's not a whole integer, it's 2.5, or even it can be in our case, if we divide 10 by 3, it will return something like that. So uh, if I want to get uh, that part 3 and ignore the fraction, I will have to use this kind of division. Okay, if I don't use this double um, sign, so then I will not be able to get I will get the real number, which is 3.33. So let us try here. So everything in the programming language, every code, every step that you want to learn, your deep friend or your close friend is a print statement. So I will many times I will not be able to solve an exercise in the first try. I will always use the print to be able to help me to understand what I'm what I am thinking of now, and how I'm able to improve the output from that. Okay, so and just let me here give you an example. So I would say I would like to see the output before I return something. So I will also return that here, but I would like to print it first before I even return it. So I will just call something here. I will call the function. I will give it the number of people. I will say 10, and I will say the groups is 3. So I somehow expect what could be the output. Here, I'm not printing anything. I'm just printing something inside the function itself. So I will try to run and see how it looks like. So I will try to comment that print. So I'm only able to see. So can you see the output here? It's only 3, right? Okay, so if I remove that sign, so I'm able to get 3.33, right? Does this
Okay.
make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so did you understand or see how I'm able to solve my function or my problem here or my exercise?
Yeah, I'm
Is
able
it,
to see it.
yes, so is it simple for you or difficult?
Uh, I mean simple, but yeah, maybe I will forget later.
Okay, so not to forget later. So okay, just to share with you, me, I know also many languages. So if I leave a language without practicing it for maybe a month or so, then I will start to even forget the syntax. So that is normal. And uh, so when you learn something, that is before going to the third exercise, fast before the time goes out from us. In the neuroscience, it says that if you want something to move to your permanent memory and to form links that stay forever in your permanent memory, then you have to do a practice. A
Yeah,
practice have to be spaced enough in a way that maybe every 2 or 3 days you keep practicing. Every 2 or 3 days you keep practicing. This way you move the information to make a links inside your brain, and you are able to call that links um, very fast and anytime later. So this is something like practicing to drive or even to ride a bicycle. You need time and practice to be able to build the skills that you are able to talk when you are driving or even talk when you are riding a bicycle. The first time you ride a car, you will never be able to talk. You are putting your full focus and your full brain in just driving the car. But when your brain moves this skill set into links in your permanent memory, you're able to talk when you are driving. And so this is a sign for you that you are doing it automatically, and your uh, for brain or for memory that is only have limited spaces is able to call the links from your permanent memory automatically. So you are able to breathe automatically. You are able to ride the car automatically just because you do permanent practice for that. Does this make sense so far?
yes,
Okay,
understood.
so let us try to write a function that takes in a number and checks if the number is divisible by 10. And this number should return a Boolean. So we take one number and we try to divide it by 10 and see if it is divisible or not. And based on that, we return true or false. So, okay. So define divi okay. And I don't want to uh, write many details, so it will keep giving me its suggestions, and I will pass it here a number. So do you know how I can check a number it can return is divisible by 10 or not? Do you know that?
No, I don't know how to do it.
Oh, okay. So of course it's easy for your brain to just tell me, oh, I don't want to think about it. Is I don't know it. But I mean, you have to force your brain and you have to push your brain a little bit. Okay. So first of all, let me tell you, did you see that sign before?
Yeah.
So do you know what it does?
Is it like a reminder?
Yes, exactly. So if we have a number with a fraction, it can, so if I divide 10 by 3, um, there is a whole number, which is 3, and there is a fraction. And this number is actually, we call it the modulus, and it gives us the reminder of a division. So, and they use it programmatically to know many things. It can tell me if a number is odd or even. How I do that. So if I say print, I would not give you the solution here. I still need, I've just explained to you how the modulus work. So if I want to know the number is even or not, I would try to divide it by 0. Yes, here, like I'm doing here. But I will say just modulus 2, number modulus 2. If it is equal to 0, it means that this is an even number. So have you seen something like that before?
Yeah, a bit.
A bit, okay. So I would say I will call divisible. I will try to comment that line and I call divisible here and I will pass it 2. So when we try to divide 2 by 2, there will be no reminder. So the reminder will be 0. So let's have a look. So yeah, it returned to me like true, even though I'm not sure here how it I should yeah. So I see. I think I should remove that. So it doesn't. So it is giving me the result of that expression, but I just want to see the reminder itself. So the reminder is actually 0. So when I try to divide 2 by 2, the reminder is 0. There is no reminder because 2 is divisible by 2. So when I say equal equal, have you seen something like that before? So equal equal means you are testing the equality. If this expression is equal to 0, have you seen something like that before?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I do print like that, it will tell me the output of this equality test. The equality test result can be true or false. So if you don't want to get true or false, you can just remove that here. Okay, and also one possibility, if we want to make it in the typical way, we can put it in an if statement like that, and we can say print true. So this is typical, and I am able to put it in one line like I have done before. So both of them works fine. And when you develop your skills, you're able to write shorter code. In the start, it's typically understandable that you cannot write that. So did I make sense to you so far?
Yes.
Okay, and tell me how you want to proceed. Then, do you think I'm able to help you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
You,
so would you like us to go with Python and talk about object oriented, and then I show you how you can solve scenarios, problem scenarios. So they give you a scenario for a problem, a real problem, either for students or for players or even for a store, and then we start solving that in a code. Do you think that this will help you to develop your skills?
yeah, because I'm learning machine learning too.
Okay, so now you are taking other class for machine learning?
Yeah.
Okay, so is it in a university course or?
Yeah, it's like cert.
Oh,
I,
okay. So you're trying to learn what exactly? We have less than 1 minute remaining. So are you training?